She'll find where you live, she will hunt you down, she will burn you in your bed.
Right.
It come about, it was twofold actually. My account got hacked on Instagram and they started talking to people about horror, which is something that I would never do. And a lot of actors, that actually some of them that were in this, all went, Mike, is that? No, it's not, obviously ain't me, I do British gangster films. That's my bread and butter, that's what I do, and that was that. Then I was lucky enough that Bermondsey Tales and Gangster's Kiss both had London premieres within sort of 10 days of each other. And the team that were running it, they're absolutely fantastic. They did The Last Heist as well. They're brilliant. Wes at Stripe Media are fantastic. And he said to me, look, he went, do you want to consider looking at horror films? You know, nothing wrong with the British gangster market. It's great, it's fantastic. But have you considered doing something else? To which my reply was, no, I don't watch horror films. Me and my wife don't watch horror. It's not a thing we do. And then he met with me again and sort of told me about that side of things. And I was like, yeah, I've got to do something. And I'm a big fan of history, so there's a few historical references in this. And I was watching something about Jack the Ripper, Jackie the Stripper, brings it to modern day, but stays true to history. And that was sort of how it came about. And then I started speaking to a few actors that I know, because nothing against the horror genre, nothing at all, but I think it's can be a bit misogynistic, and it's a little bit chase the pretty women, take the pretty women's clothes off, you know what I mean? So if I'm going to write something, it needs to be sort of female empowerment, it needs to be told from a female perspective. And most importantly, it's very easy for me as a sort of middle-aged man to go, nah, it's all right. So I sent it to Sophie Rankin, Charlotte Kirk, and a few others. And I went, look, what do you think of this? Like, is it on the money, or am I pitching it wrong? And they both went, yeah, we're in, instantly. So then I gave it to a couple of actors that I worked with before on my last film, Maddie and Rebecca. Said, how do you feel about this? They was on board. And then I thought, right, well, I've got enough of an opinion now that we're all right. So, that's when we started properly going into production. I started pulling in favours, Emily Wyatt, Patsy Kensit. It was like, I'm doing this film, like it's happening now. Do you want to be involved? So that was sort of how it came about as such. I wrote it I write very quickly, so I wrote it realistically in about 8 hours, which probably says something of the quality of my scripts, doesn't it? But we wrote it. We had a premise, we had the script, but it was a version. And then luckily the producers come on board, and then it's changed from a small micro budget to actually we can make this. And then we got Spencer, Tony involved as the armourer and then the stunts. And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think now we've got like 100 people in the cast. We had a 3-day, just one of the fight scenes was a 3-day shoot, just doing that one bit. So it sort of grew quite organically. And I've basically called in every favour possible. The same with the crew as well, DOP, the first, the art department, everyone, sound, costume, everyone is on this as a personal favour to me. So I'm immensely grateful. And obviously not to mention the cast as well. Firstly, I could be setting myself up for a 40. It's funny. It should be funny. I don't want to make a point. I'm not trying to change the world. I don't want to be political. If you want to be political, be a politician. If you want to make films, entertain. And I do think it's entertaining. It's funny. It's got some great moments in it. It's got some fantastic performances. It's got fights. It's got action. It's got your horror elements. And basically, if you're going to spend an hour and a half of your time watching anything, and you're going to dedicate your time to watching something that I've written, I want you at the end of it to have enjoyed it. And I do think people will find this immensely enjoyable. And then anything else they take from it, then that's a bonus. Yeah, well, I think it depends. I think where I've worked in theatre, my background's theatre, I've worked with thousands of actors, and every actor's different. So, we've got Perry Benson on this. The man is a comic genius. So you give him the script and he's going to learn it, he's a pro. but you also just listen to what he's saying. There's a bit, he was having a chat with two of the fellas. And I went, yeah, Perry, you know what you're saying about lunch? I'm, yeah, let's write it. So you write a scene on the moment. So you've got to trust the actors, and I do. I mean, the actors on this are fantastic. They've got great instincts. So, you know, sometimes it's a rewrite. The other day, Andrew, the first cast, went, how about if we do this scene on the balcony? Oh, yeah, that's brilliant. And then, you know, we wrote it and it was scripted, and we gave it was Katie Price and Charlotte Kirk, you know, we wrote that scene. But quite often it's a bit like theatre. I write a script, then we cast the actors, then we have 3 or 4 weeks to rehearse. Well, we ain't got that, but we have got a chance to sort of organically do it. And I know the actors. Tomo and Michael, who play Butch and Max, they're brilliant, but I know them. So there's a lot of scenes where we go, hey, lads, you just point at the camera and go, right, talk about that. You know, we're doing talk about Albania, talk about fighting bears, talk about, you know, a pit bull, when they lock onto you, you put your finger up his Harris, and apparently they're like, who found that out? You know, you just come up with this stuff. And you've got to trust your actors, because that's what they bring to the table. And I think as a scriptwriter, I've worked with some, and directors, they're too personal. It's not personal. It's not. You've got to give, like a kid. You know, if you don't let your kid go to school, as much as it's hard to let them go, they're never going to be educated. If you don't give it to the actors, it's never going to be what it could be. And I'm just so blessed that I've got a wonderful cast and crew on this, that they've made it far better than what I wrote on paper. That's, you know. Well, we've had every challenge. I've had more problems on this film than I've had on my previous 6 put together. And it's just, you know, cast availability, locations, budget. You know, this is a really ambitious film, a super ambitious film. And it should be probably made for millions across, be filmed for 3 months. Well, we ain't got that. But I like every challenge. Every challenge we've got, you find a better answer. And again, that goes back to my theatre days. You add this play and you go, well, I can't do that. I want a cast of 16. Well, you have a cast of 4 and you multi-role, and we haven't got this big theatre, so you bring it all in, you know. A great example, we've got some wonderful locations on this, and great fighters, stunt choreographer and all that, amazing. We've got one where it's a 3-day fight across a whole, bash up an entire club. Then we've got a fight in the woods. She's got the woods, you know, 5 acres of land. Well, with Kimberly Wyatt, her scene was filmed in my flat. So I'm like, well, you do it in the corridor. You close everything down. You have everything there. So every problem makes you have to find a creative answer. And the answer is often better than what you had in the first place. So, yeah, there's always issues with budget. Of course there is. There's always issues with location. Every issue that you can have, we've had. But even with cast, we had a couple of casts that couldn't do it. The people that we brought on have been fantastic. So, you know, it's never a problem if you've got a good team around you to find a better answer. And touch wood, I genuinely believe that's what we've done.